Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Shay with Amos, episode, what is this, episode 5? I think it's episode 5, right? Not? Okay, episode 5. Welcome back. I know we've been gone for a while. Joining me today is Dr. Wiagih Nassim. Did I say it right, Dr. Wiagih?
Yes.
Okay, I said it right. Yes, all right, cool. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Voice crack, jeez. When did you come to America?
I came Memorial Weekend in 1970 with my wife after our wedding by a week. So we came here in 1970 for the first time from Cairo to Chicago.
That's a cool honeymoon. I'm not going to lie. Well planned, too. I mean, it could have been worse. You could have came in, like, December, in the middle of, like, winter. So, as you said, you're our doctor. Now, you're not our first doctor to be on the show. However, you came 1970. This is, like, what, a year after kind of the last civil rights movements were kind of done with.
Right.
And this is also what Cold War is going on. Vietnam War is, like, really getting bad. So, you came at a time when, Middle Eastern and Egyptian immigrants weren't a thing. You know, this is a new thing that was happening. And on top of that, you're also in the medical field, which is, again, a very competitive field. So what I want to focus on is your career during that time, you know, and the hardships, or if there was any hardships. So, like, kind of walk me through from kind of when you came and then to, like, maybe like 1980. How about that? You know, kind of that first 10 years and kind of like your experience with that.
Of course, during the first 10 years, there was not too many Egyptians in United States, and in Chicago especially, there was less Egyptian than New York or Los Angeles. Most of the people who left Egypt at my time, they either went to Los Angeles or to New York. Very few people came to Chicago. The reason I came to Chicago because I had a friend who came a year before me in Chicago, and that was easy for me to come and stay with him for a few days until I find something to do and then be on my own. So that's what happens. Really
quick, I should have asked this earlier, but, like, was the immigration process, was it hard or was it kind of just flew in?
It was hard from both sides, from the Egyptian government and from the American governments. From the Egyptian, because during my time, Nasser Abdel Nasser was the president of Egypt, and he was only allowing a certain number of doctors to leave Egypt every year. I think the number was 150 to 200.
Wow.
And nobody more than that can leave Egypt. So it took for me more than a year to come so I can be included in the 200. So that Egyptian government, because there was not too many doctors in Egypt. Also from the American side, this year was the first year the American embassy wanted the doctors who come to United States to have the qualifying exam already done, and they pass the exam and they come to America. And unfortunately, that exam was not done in Egypt. It was done in Lebanon and Greece. And because I was I was already booked in the army of Egypt, so I was not allowed to leave Egypt to take exam. So I couldn't take the exam before I came. So I came without the exam, and that was a little bit one of the hardship when I came here. The people in the hospital, they were asking me right away, did you have the qualifying exam or the passing or the American exam? I always say no, of course. And finally, God arranged one of my friends to talk to the medical director of one of the hospitals, and he only allowed me to work until the exam, and if I pass the exam, then I can sign with his hospital for internship. If I don't pass the exam, then I'll be out.
Was it like the MCAT, or what was the...
ECFMG, the exam called ECFMG.
Okay.
So that, of course, was myself and my wife. Both of us were doctors, and both of us came without that qualifying exam. And we came, as I said, in Memorial Weekend. The exam was in September. So I started studying again for the exam, and I never studied in my life for any exam like this 2 or 3 months. I used to stay awake till maybe 2 o'clock in the morning and wake up 6 o'clock and study again, because I made my mind, if I don't pass the exam, then I will be lost.
Yeah.
So thanks to God, I passed the exam with good degrees actually from the first shot.
That's good. So then going on to practicing. Now, what type of doctor were you?
I'm an internist. I went first year internship, and then I had 3 years internship in residency in internal medicine. I was actually elected the best resident of the year twice in hospital I was working for. And then I passed the board exam for internal medicine, and the hospital didn't want to leave me, and they tried to persuade me, and they got office for me to start practicing internal medicine in their hospital.
Internal medicine?
Internal medicine.
What is internal medicine? Sorry.
Internal medicine is the medicine is internal medicine and surgery. Internal medicine is dealing with adult diseases. Most of the adult diseases like diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, any different organ diseases for adults. Internal medicine internist is adult medicine. Is not. I didn't see pediatrics or young people. It's mostly adult medicine.
I see. So that was a very broad range then of like cases and medicine you were seeing like throughout your career. That's very interesting. So then, kind of going back, so you have a very nice career, very established. Did you deal with any kind of sort of, I don't want to say racism, but like more like prejudice, like throughout your career? Did you ever have anything like that, or was it kind of smooth sailing?
Actually, I did not feel it until in 1973, when the war between Egypt and Israel took place. And the director of the outpatient clinic, which I was working in it, he was a Jew, but he was a little bit fanatic. And at that time, Egypt, of course, was ahead of Israel in the war, and apparently he did not like that. So without any reason, he just went and wrote a complaint against me to the chief of internal medicine, or the director of internal medicine. And he called me and met with him, and he told me that the director of the outpatient clinic, he wrote something against you, but don't worry, I know. And he was laughing. I know what his motive is, so don't worry about it and just forget it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then otherwise...
that went, it was no problem.
So then another thing I also kind of wanted to touch on, kind of moving away from your career, kind of focusing on just life, just as an American citizen at the time. So did you ever experience any sort of culture shock when you came to America and while you were living here? Did you ever, like one of those instances where you were just like, oh my gosh, did you ever have any of that or no?
I really did not feel it very much, because last year I worked when I was in Egypt in American Mission Hospital in Tanta. And American Mission Hospital, it's run by American people. The medical director was American. The chief of radiology was American. So I had some idea. But coming from Egypt to United States, something just happened to me, which is maybe funny. One day I was inside one of the stores, and being Christian, fanatic Christian, I saw a portrait of Jesus on the wall of I think the store was Woolworth at that time. That's the name of the store. And here is a portrait of Jesus, and next to him a portrait of a woman almost naked. Oh. So I didn't like that.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I didn't know. So I called actually the one of the people who run the stores, one director. So I told him, I don't think this is nice to have a picture of Jesus Christ next to like a dancing woman or so. Yeah. So the guy laughed at me and said, okay, I think I see your point, and we'll try to change it.
Did they ever change it?
I didn't go again.
Oh. All right. So, okay. So let's then move towards the church. Now you came directly to Chicago,
Yes.
and the congregation at the time was like 3 families, right? Or it was something around that.
It's
Yeah.
about 6, 7.
Okay, 6, 7 families. So coming into a small congregation, I mean, what did they do for like like how was that experience? But like kind of like how did stuff work? You know, in terms of like services and just in general practices, like.
Of course, we had at that time Abuna Moros from Toronto. He used to come once every couple of weeks or 3 weeks to come Saturday around noontime, give us a mass, and leave by 3 o'clock. And in between, sometimes he doesn't come every Sunday. Friend of mine who was a Protestant, I went with him to his meetings too. They have meetings almost every week, maybe once or twice. It's a Bible study. So he was a very nice friend of mine, and he used to work with me the last year in Egypt,
Yeah.
the American hospital, which I said I was working in the last year there. And I used to go to their meetings. Also, their meetings were very nice and very easy to understand. And so between our church and this meeting, we used to spend the time in the first couple of years.
Yeah. So then for the Protestant church, this is interesting because, you know, American churches are obviously very different from our churches. So did you ever go to any of like the services or anything like that? Or no?
I went to, and there's a big church in Chicago, very well known, Moody Church.
Oh, yeah.
So Moody Church, I think everybody knows about. So as I said, I used to go with my friend to Moody Church every Sunday. And sometimes they have meetings in the afternoon or evening once a week with another friend or 2 friends. So between the church, our church, and this Moody Church and the other meeting with my friend, so we used to be keeping up with our religion, with our thoughts, and we did not try to go some other places which is not as good as these places. So
did the services
we were involved in this?
So did the services? Because I remember I'm a college student right now, and one of the colleges I was looking at was Wheaton College, and they're if you guys don't know, for people who are watching that from the area, it's like a kind of a local, you know, private college. It's a very Protestant college, right? Part of the requirement for the school is like you have to attend services and stuff. I think like every Tuesday and Thursday. I remember when I went to the service, I kind of felt very weird. Did you feel that, or was it more of like?
No, I did not, because as I said, the last year I was in Egypt. Yeah. I was in American Mission Hospital in Egypt, and American Mission Hospital was a church hospital. So even the medical director, sorry, not the medical director, the administrator of the hospital, he used to have a Bible study meeting in his house every Wednesday. So we used to go and attend this Bible study in his home. Yeah. So I was somewhat involved and familiar with the Protestant way of reading the Bible and understanding the Bible, and which they are very good with the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah, for anyone who studies theology, fun fact, the Protestants, when they did the whole Reformation thing, they're like, oh, we need to follow the Bible exactly, even though we were doing that for centuries. But it's okay. It's okay. They stole the idea from us. But
so I had my background was a little bit prepared to this kind of Bible study and this kind of teaching and reading the Bible. And so I really did not feel strange, or I did not feel that I don't belong to this. I felt like I'm one of them.
So then moving on, then kind of focusing now on our church more. So after, how long did Abuna Moros from Toronto, did he come like for the whole time, or was he just?
No, sometimes he doesn't come every Sunday, but I think the first 2 years he was involved, and then after that we had Abuna Moros came from Egypt and starts serving our church.
Yeah, and then you guys were renting at the time, correct?
At that time, we had the church in Kenmore. It's big church, Greek church. So yes, I don't know. I don't remember now if we are arranging it or I think we were arranging it or giving it. They're giving it every Saturday. We did not go Sunday because Sunday they have service, so we used it Saturday.
Yeah, and then was the service in the morning on Saturday, or was it at a...
No, it was around noontime. I think noontime starts noon to 3 or noon to 4.
Wow, so then...
Because the Abuna Moros used to come same day, Saturday. So he has to take the flight from Toronto to Chicago in the morning, so he will arrive around noontime.
Was there ever a time where like he came in, like the flight was delayed or anything like that, or that you remember, or no?
No, he arrived from 12:01, but he leaves by 3:04.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Because he has to go to do the Vespers in his church.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's a day. Yeah. So then after Abuna Moros from Egypt came, Abuna Moros Bishay.
Yeah,
right?
Abuna Moros Bishay. That's from Egypt. Yeah, he came Abuna Moros Bishay.
Were you guys still renting the same place, or
in the same place?
In the same place. So, and was the services the same time?
No, I think I don't remember now, but I think it's probably because we did not own a church at that time, so we used to have a service Saturday. Yeah. And Abuna Moros Bishay was a great man and a great preacher, and he used to visit us. And we were not too many families, but he used to live with us almost every week. I mean, like living with us.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he was a very, very great priest.
Yeah. Because the other thing too, I always wondered, was there any, like, because now we have our Sunday liturgy, and after Sunday liturgy we have Sunday school, and then after Sunday we have the servants meeting, stuff like that. So was there any of those services implemented yet, or were they kind of, what would you guys do after church, or would you guys all go home?
I think most of the time it was a service because we did not have our own church at that time. So most of the time we had the service and we leave home. We had like Sunday school service in the last few months during our service with the kids, but there was not too many children actually, because most of the people we were adults. I mean, the people who married and have children to go to Sunday school. I don't remember any now.
So then after the church, the Greek church, what happened next? Did you guys rent another church? This is when you guys...
Abuna Moros Bishay, who came and stayed with us 3 years. And I think I mentioned to you that one Sunday, which is not a good story, after the Mass, he had chest pain. And we called the ambulance. That we were in Roselle at that time. We called the ambulance, and he had skin disease which make him unable to sweat. So he feels the heat more than anybody else. I mean, if it's just a little bit hot or warm, he cannot just, because he doesn't sweat, so he really can't take the heat. So we called the ambulance to take him up to the hospital because he had chest pain, and he asked the driver of the ambulance, "Do you have air conditioning in the ambulance?" He said, "No, we don't have air conditioning." So he said, "I'm going to go to the hospital with Wiagih car," because I had a new car and there was air conditioning. So I said, okay. So he came with me in the car, and driving between the church and the hospital was only like maybe 7 to 10 minutes. It was not too far. And after I drove the car maybe 2 or 3 minutes, he said, "Oh, I have pain, my chest pain." And then he said, "Oh, Jesus," and his head went down. So I took the car to the side and I called the people driving by me and told them, "Please call an ambulance, please call an ambulance." And they called an ambulance, and the ambulance came in no time and picked him up and went to the hospital. By the time he went, he passed away. And the last word he said, he was in my car, "Jesus, oh Jesus." I still remember this till today.
So then after this unfortunate passing, what did you guys do for a priest?
Then we start calling priests from different states every Sunday.
Really?
No, we don't call them Sunday, of course. We call them 2 days before Sunday or a week before, and ask them to come and give us the service. And actually, I think most of the time, I was in charge of this service.
Really? So then, did you have any because you basically then met every priest? Because at the time there's 4 or 5 priests in the entire United States, or was there more than that?
Maybe 6, 7, 8. But most of them, I remember Baba Sanchi, the bishop, Baba Sanchi. At that time, he was only priest. So I remember he came to my home, and some other people, some priests, if they know people from Chicago, they go and stay with them. If they don't know anybody, they come in my home. So we stayed like that for a few months, calling priests to come and give us the service until we got Pope Abuna Shnuda.
Yeah, and then also in this time too, were you guys still in Roselle, or is this when you guys bought the?
Well, from Roselle, we stayed in Roselle, I think 2 or 3 years, and then from Roselle, we rented a church in Oak Park. And Roselle, actually Oak Park first, and then we went to Roselle. Roselle, because we bought the church in Roselle. Yeah. So first we went to Oak Park, and after Oak Park, we went to Roselle, and we were able to sell Roselle Church to move to our church here in Burridge.
Yeah. So then, this is also a question that I've always wondered: what would how do I say this? What would call for a move to find a different church to rent? Was it because it was too small, or was it because other reasons? I mean, what would make that, how would that work?
No, I think our thinking at that time was all the time, we want to have our own church. So when we bought the church in Oak Park, we bought a church at Oak Park. We bought it actually. But it was not the ideal church. So that is why we looked in the land, which we came to Burridge land, and we bought the land. And actually we started by 5 acres, then went up to 10 acres. And then we started thinking about building a church. And of course, the one who led all of this is the great man, Fay Abutar. He is the one who led us in buying the land and building. He's the one who built the church.
Yeah. So the other thing I've always known, so then with the church in Oak Park that you guys bought, because I know actually I think a church around here recently did this, where they bought a church and they renovated it. I think St. Mary's did that with their new kind of second sanctuary. They bought the church next to them and then they renovated it. So in Oak Park, did you guys renovate the church too, or was it just still the same thing?
No, we did not renovate any church. We just went to have service there. Actually, even the church in Roselle, I think, if I remember right, the altar was not in the east. But we did the service because we know that this is temporary thing, and we are going to move from there. So, no, we did not. I don't think we remodeled.
So my next question, this is an Outlook question. So at the end of every interview, I always like to ask an Outlook question because obviously you guys have seen a lot. You guys have seen a thing or two, so you know a thing or two. So I stole that from a commercial. So what I want to know, as the church congregation grows, as you know, and it's grown hugely in the past 10, 20 years. So as the church congregation begins to expand and grow, how do you think, what advice would you give to my generation and then the future generations on keeping the church together as a community while also being inviting to new members as well? What do you think is the best way to do that as we move forward?
It's a very hard question to answer, but I think the most important thing is when we raise our children. We raise our children to love the church, to like to come to the church. And of course, the best thing for this is to have friends who come to the church in their age, so they can easily be friends with them. So, of course, it's very hard to say we were 100% successful, but I think we were maybe over 80% successful. That even my children, when they had, if I remember right, when they used to have a birthday party and they invite their friends from the school and friends from a church, and little by little, the number of children who invite them from the school gets less, and the number of the children from the church gets more. And little by little, my friends, their friends only from church now. Maybe they have one or two not from the church, but the bulk of their friends are from the church.
So then, okay, so does that also include like? Sorry, does this also include then like inviting new people? Because obviously we're in a land where we're immigrants here at the end of the day. So then, so how do you think is a good way to not only make people feel welcome in the church, whether they just came from Egypt, but also if they had also, like, let's say they converted, which is something we're seeing a lot. So what do you think is the best way to kind of not keep the peace? That's not what I meant. Make them welcome, as well as maintaining that unity and kind of almost include them in that unity. Sorry, it's a little convoluted. I'm sorry.
The fact that you come to the church every Sunday and then you have your children with you every Sunday, that by itself gives you the first hand in handling this problem. People, there are, but this is not the majority. The majority of Christians who I know, they came here and stuff like that, they always have their friends from church, first friends,
so
best friends. So in the beginning, my children used to invite their friends from school and their friends from church. And little by little, the friends from church are more than the friends from school. And finally now, their friends are only from the church. Even though that my children, they're all older than you, and they all work and they all had friends from work, but still till now, wherever they go and wherever they do, friends from the church, they are always first. Of course, thanks to God that this has happened. I did not really, or I was not very persistent in asking them to just bring church friends, but they did that by themselves. I didn't ask them to do anything different. But little by little, because I was inviting their parents, they are my friends too, and they come together. And now my children, I don't think you know my children. I have two girls and one boy. My oldest daughter is married to Atif son.
Atif Ma'awad, just to be clear. Yeah. We have two Atifs, so yeah.
The Atif Ma'awad is still children young. So the other daughter married another Christian man, and my son married the daughter of a deacon who comes here and serve almost every Wednesday. So little by little, they know each other and they marry. They found out that this is the best people to marry because they know their culture, they know them, they think they like their parents, and so that. Thanks God that this happened. I hope it happened to you and and to you and to you.
There's two other people behind the camera. Just yeah. Okay. So basically passing on from generation to generation. Essentially. Right. Okay. Type. So thank you, Dr. Wiagih, for coming on. I really do appreciate it. But he's not the only. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. He's not the only person we have to thank. First off, I would like to thank our production crew. Yeah, I always forget them. That's something I always do. So I want to first of all thank our production crew that's on site today. Jonathan Gorgie and James Gorgie. Yes, they're both my brothers. Yes, I have a lot of brothers, I know. So I want to thank them. Also, I would like to thank our production manager, George Koldas, for providing this equipment as well as know-how to make this show and make everything possible. I also like to thank St. Mark's Coptic Orthodox Church for allowing us to film on the premise and giving us this really cool room, really cool library. If you're in St. Mark's, you should really come to this library. It's really cool. I'd also like to thank our social media manager, Miriam Shahat. She's in charge of all of our social media stuff, all the posts you see, all the cool stuff she does. That's her. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on Instagram and Twitter, and I think Facebook is somewhat working. So find us on Instagram. We're on Instagram. So feel free to give us a follow if you want to see updates when episodes are live, stuff like that. If you want to watch this show, we're on the St. Mark's official YouTube channel, as well as the official SoundCloud. Also, I'd like to thank Jazz Fruits Music. Is that our music provider today? Jazz Fruits Music. They're the ones that provided our music today. If you like the background music you're hearing and stuff, please feel free to give them a listen on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Music. Basically, wherever you get your music, he'll be there. I would also like to thank Peter Osmi. He's our graphic designer. He's the one who designed this great logo, as well as so many other stuff for us. So if you ever need to use his services, he's very cheap. He does a very good job. We will link him in the description below. We'll link his Facebook, and we'll be able, and you could contact him whenever you need it. But do mind, he's in Cairo, so, watch the time difference. Otherwise, that's it. Thank you again, Dr. Wiagih, for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And that's the show. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless, and good night.